Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go over the quiz review. So go ahead and hope you have that quiz review out. We're gonna go over the answers and then keep this next to you when you take the quiz so that you can have something to look off of. All right, so number 1. So GCF is greatest common factor. True or false? True. So GCF stands for greatest common factor. If you got that right, go ahead and give yourself a smiley face. If you got it wrong, go ahead and give yourself a sad face. All right, don't get that wrong on the quiz. All right, number 2. We gotta find the GCF of 3x squared and 12x, okay? So 3x squared and 12x. I'm gonna look at 3 and I'm gonna look at 12. What number can go into 3 and 12? The biggest number that can go into both. If you don't know, you can make a little chart. 3 and 12. I know 3 can be divided by 1 and 3, and I know I can divide 12 by 1, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And then I look, what's the biggest number they have in common? It's 3. So my GCF is 3, but now we gotta look at the x's. The 3 has 2 x's, and the 12 only has 1. So what do they have in common? They have 1 x in common. Do they have 2 x's in common? No, just the 1. So my GCF would be 3x. That is my answer, 3x. You got that right? Give yourself a little smiley face. All right, number 3. We need to find the GCF of 7xy and 7x squared y squared. All right, now first I'm gonna look at my numbers. So I got a 7 and a 7. What's the biggest number that goes into 7 and 7? Obviously it's 7, okay? Now I'm gonna make a little list of my letters because I see a lot and they're gonna confuse me. So I'm gonna put, over here I'm gonna put x, y, because there's 1 x, 1 y. And here over on the other side I'm gonna put 2 x's and 2 y's. 2 x's, 2 y's. Now I'm gonna look at what do both sides have in common. Well, they both have an x for sure. They both have a y, but that's it. This one has an x and a y, but this one doesn't. This has 2 extras, so that won't be part of it. So my GCF will be the 7, and then 1 x and 1 y. So my GCF will be 7xy. It's what they both have in common. So it's the largest amount that they both have. So here's another way of thinking about it with the variables. Do they both have 1 x? Yes. Do they both have 2 x's? No. So it's only 1 x. Do they both have 1 y? Yes. Do they both have 2 y's? No. So it's just 1 y. So this is my GCF. All right, so now that's GCF. In order to factor, we need to know how to find GCF. So number 4, the directions say factor. So we're gonna factor 10x squared y plus 2y. Remember, if it's a 1, 2, if it's a binomial, we're gonna use GCF method. GCF method, okay? First step, find the GCF. What's the GCF of 10 and 2? What's the biggest number that 10 and 2 goes into both of those? It would be 2. And then, do they both have 1 x? No, they don't. This one doesn't even have an x, so that's not part of the GCF. Do they both have 1 y? Yes, they do. Do they both have 2 y's? No. So your GCF is 2y. That's the first step. Next step is factor. So 2y goes on the outside, and then we have to figure out what goes on the inside. I like to do it the easy way. I go, okay, 2 times what gives me 10? 2 times 5. I already have a y, and what do I need? I need an x squared and a y. I already have the y, but what do I need? I need x squared. So I'm gonna write x squared. Now let's do the next one. 2 times what? 2 2 times what will give me 2? 2 times 1. So I'm going to put a plus 1. I already have a y and I need a y, so I'm good. So my answer is 2y, and then in parentheses, 5x squared plus 1. And this is my answer. All right, moving on to number 5. Factor negative 3xyz minus 2yz. All right, now I'm going to look at negative 3 and negative 2. I need the GCF of negative 3 and negative 2. Now this one's could be tricky. What are numbers that divide into negative 3? 1 and 3. What are numbers that divide into 2? 1 and 2. What's the only number they have in common? 1. So that's going to be your GCF, 1. Do they both have an x? No. Do they both have a y? Yes. Do they both have a z? Yes. So my GCF is 1yz. And you obviously know we don't write the 1, so we're just going to write yz. And then we need to figure out what goes in there. Okay, well this is technically a 1. We know this is a 1. So 1 times what will give me negative 3? 1 times negative 3 will give me negative 3. I have the y and the z, but what don't I have? The x. So that's what I need to put there. Okay, now the next one. 1 times what will give me negative 2? 1 times negative 2. I have the y and the z, I have the y and the z. We don't need anything, so we're done. So this is your answer. All right, moving on, number 6. Now number 6, my question is, x squared plus 3x minus 1. Is this a monomial, binomial, or trinomial? Does it have 1, 2, or 3 terms? 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, oh sorry, 1, 2, or 3. It has 1, 2, 3. So hopefully you wrote trinomial. Oh, if you did, please make sure you write yourself a big smiley face because you need to know that. Trinomial, 3 terms. So if I have a trinomial, I have to factor it a little differently. So for number 7, we had to factor x squared plus 5x plus 4. Now we're going to factor this differently than we did up here. Remember, we only had 2 terms, so we did the GCF method. But when we have 3, 1, 2, 3, we have to do the trinomial method. And one thing you need to know when you have trinomial method, your answer is going to be 2 parentheses, so I can already put that. When I see x squared, I know it's going to be x and x. I just need to figure out the magic numbers. I like to call them the magic numbers. That's what I'm trying to find. We're going to do a little chart here. We have to find 2 magic numbers, and these magic numbers multiply to get 4 and add up to get 5. So can you think of 2 numbers that multiply to get 4 and add up to get 5? Well, there's only 2 ways to get 4. 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. Which one of these, if you add them, you'll get 5? Hopefully you said 1 and 4. Because if you add, you'll get 5. If I add these 2, I'll get 4. So I know I need 1 and 4 are my magic numbers. So I'm going to put plus 1 and plus 4. And you're done. Factored it. Let's try number 8. Factor again. We're going to factor x squared minus 3x plus 2. I know it's a trinomial, so I know my answer is going to look like this. I need to find 2 magic numbers. 2 magic numbers that multiply to get 2 and add up to get negative 3. But notice now we have a negative. So they have to multiply to get 2, and they have to add to get negative 3. Numbers that multiply to get 2. We've got 1 times 2, and that's it. 1 times 2, right? But think about negative. How else could I get a positive 2? Think of the face. How else can I get a positive 2 with 2 signs? Think about it for a minute. If I do a negative times a negative, I'll get a positive. So if I have a negative 1 times a negative 2, I'll still get positive 2. And think about this. Which one, if you add them together, will you get negative 3? Well, 1 plus 2 is 3. But negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. So these are my magic numbers. Negative 1 and negative 2. I know x and x, negative 1, negative 2, and you're done. So again, just be careful with negatives. Make sure you write down all of your options. Okay, number 9. One more time, the same thing. Factor x squared plus 10x plus 9. I know it's a trinomial, so I know my answer is going to look like this. I know I have x and x. Think of this one, 2 numbers, 2 magic numbers that multiply to get 9, that add up to get 10. So what numbers multiply to get 9? We got 9 times 1, and we got 3 times 3. Which set of numbers, if you add them, you'll get 10? Turns out it's 1 and 9. So 9 and 1 are my magic numbers. Plus 9, plus 1. I feel like someone's going to ask me, does the order matter? No, it does not. The order does not matter. Okay, both are correct. And last question. If I asked you to factor 3x squared minus 3x, which method should you use for that? So there's only 2 choices. Should you do GCF method or trinomial method? So GCF method or trinomial method, which method would you use? And the answer is GCF, okay? Because it only has 1, 2 terms, not 3. Trinomial is when you have 3 terms, okay? This is the quiz review. When you feel like you're ready for the quiz, go ahead and take it. That's going to be due today. So good luck.